Get ready to feel the bang! Welcome everyone to NoDQ&A video here on NoDQ.com. I am the owner of NoDQ, Aaron Rift, here to answer your questions about the world of wrestling. So let's get right down to it. What do you think about the rumors of John Morrison leaving WWE, and do you think he will end up in TNA? Right now, it looks like Morrison is on his way out. The belief is that his contract will be expiring in the near future, and based on the past few weeks of Raw, especially this week, it looks like WWE has just completely given up on him. Now, what went wrong with John Morrison? Back in January, he had this match with The Miz, and everybody was buzzing. It looked like John Morrison was going to be the next big thing. I talked about how the only thing he needed was to develop his promo skills and his charisma, and he would be the man. He would be the future of the company. But for whatever reason, things have not worked out with Morrison. And could it be something with Melina? Melina got released, and she's posted some things online that have not done Morrison any favors. Perhaps WWE just doesn't want to deal with the drama anymore. They got so many guys on their roster. Why deal with it? Why deal with the whole Morrison situation with Melina? If you recall back, that whole situation between Drew McIntyre and Tiffany, their whole incident, and that led to Tiffany's release, and McIntyre hasn't been pushed since. So, and if as far as going to TNA goes, I see it as nothing but a positive, because TNA needs something fresh. They need a new guy in there. They need a new person in the mix, and it gives Morrison a second chance. Maybe Morrison can find himself in TNA and find that personality that he just doesn't have in WWE. So we'll have to wait and see what happens there. But yeah, it does look like right now that Morrison is heading out of WWE. But things could always change. Hey Aaron, love the show. Do you think Rock coming back will hinder Punk's momentum? I think Punk lost his momentum quite a while ago. Back in July, August, everyone was talking about CM Punk. He was the hottest act in professional wrestling, but now he has significantly cooled off. He's going to be teaming up with Triple H for a match at Vengeance, but it's all about the game. Triple H is the focal point of the storyline. CM Punk has become somewhat of a bit player now. So I don't think The Rock is going to hurt Punk at all. If anything, The Rock's going to help everybody, because when The Rock comes back, everyone's going to be talking about WWE again, and they'll forget about the last couple weeks of WWE television. So yeah, The Rock's nothing but a positive. Hey Aaron, great show. I was wondering if at ECW One Night Stand 06, when the fans were throwing John Cena's shirt back at him, were those actual fans or were they planted fans? They were actual fans. Do you think WWE would want their top babyface to get booed out of the building and have his merchandise thrown back at him? Of course not. It was real. It wasn't plants. Has Teddy Long run his course on SmackDown, or do you think he can still bring something good to the table for the Blue Show? He's been general manager, about 6-7 years now, so perhaps it's time to get somebody new in there. I like Teddy Long a lot. He's played the role so well, so there hasn't been a reason to get rid of him. And he's just been a loyal employee of the company, and they like him a lot. But yeah, maybe it is time to get somebody new in there, but who knows? What do you think would have happened if Rhodes accidentally busted open Orton instead? I personally think that Orton would have flipped backstage, leading to Rhodes being stripped of the title and then jobbing for a few months, or he would be fired. It's a funny joke, but the thing with Orton getting upset, in terms of the thing with Mr. Kennedy, that was probably justified. Mr. Kennedy had so many strikes against him. He was getting hurt. He was hurting other people, and Orton was just legitimately concerned for his health. So, and WWE made the decision. It wasn't Orton's decision. And you know, Orton does get angry from time to time, but I don't think that he would have taken it out on Rhodes. That's just my opinion. If you could go to WWE and choose your gimmick, theme, and costume, what would it be? My gimmick would be I am the King of Kings. My theme song would be King of Kings. My costume would have a skull with a crown on. That would be my gimmick. In your opinion, what was Vince's reaction when he saw that Clash of the Champions in 1994 that got a huge buy rate for Hogan and Flair? I'm sure he wasn't happy about it. That's why around that time when Hogan came to WCW in 1994, WWE went out of their way to proclaim the new generation, and they had this grainy black and white footage of Hulk Hogan and Randy Savage. Well, that Randy Savage was later, but I think they put Hogan in there with like Buddy Rogers and Bruno Sammartino, and tried to make Hogan come off as this really old guy. When the funny thing was that at the time Bret Hart was only like 2 or 3 years younger than Hogan. But yeah, and then I guess at King of the Ring, they interviewed some politician or whatever. I don't even remember, but all I remember is that he talked about, like, they asked him, who's your favorite WWE superstar, and he said Hulk Hogan, and this was right around the time Hogan debuted at WCW, and Vince was not happy about that, let me tell you. So yeah, you can believe that Vince was starting to get worried around that period for sure. Why was the WWE logo never redesigned after the name change from WWF to WWE? It never made sense to me that the logo for WWE is just 2 W's. Well, that logo is very recognizable. That's why WWE never changed it to this day. That logo is, when you look at that logo, you know it's WWE, and you know it's a symbol of the Attitude Era and when they were the most popular. So they really don't want to change their logo to something else at this point. That's just the way it is. What did you think about the triple cage match from Slamboree / Ready to Rumble? I love the concept. While I always hope the WWE brings this match in, I know there's no way it will happen. Well, yeah, there's pretty much, I would highly bet against that ever happening, that match takes place in a WWE ring. As far as the quality of the match, I think it's a cool, unique concept, but the problem was when WCW had those matches, they always came off as such a clusterfuck. And perhaps if it was booked differently, maybe I'd have a higher opinion of it, but from what I saw, I wasn't, all that impressed with that match, how it played out in WCW. Hey Aaron, love the show. I was just wondering, why was the ECW title match between Kane and Chavo at WrestleMania 24 only 15 seconds long? Probably just due to time constraints. They have all their matches, and then they plan out how long each match is going to go, and they decided that this match doesn't need to go long. They can just have Kane come out there and destroy Chavo, and it's better than them having a 5-minute match where Kane is just beating on Chavo. So that's probably your answer right there. Hey Aaron, when in a match where a wrestler can't win by pin or submission, they often go for them anyway, which makes the wrestler in question seem dumb. Are these lapses in judgment legit or fake? I think it depends. Sometimes they do that, to bring in the realism and because if it was a real match, these guys would probably forget sometimes. But sometimes I'm sure that they do it because they legitimately forget. Like, I think Randy Savage at the Royal Rumble 93 tried to... No, actually, that was legit because that was the finish of the match. But I'm sure there were times where the guys did forget for real. How does one get employed by WWE for both on-screen, like superstar, manager, commentator, and off-screen, such as a writer? Also, have you ever tried to get into the wrestling business? If you want to become a wrestler for WWE, you go to wrestling school. You hope that somebody in a high position of power or somebody with some kind of stroke sees your work and is impressed by it. As far as becoming like a writer or a commentator, you're going to have a college degree. You're going to have experience on other television shows or sports broadcasts or whatever. And it would probably help to know very little to nothing about pro wrestling. Hey Aaron, why was the XPac hatred on so much during his original run during the Invasion storyline, where it got to the point where people were calling it XPac heat, aka go away heat? I'm not really sure. I just think I remember the period where people were really not into XPac was around the time that he was doing the X Factor stable, and I believe around the time, like, I'm not sure about this, but I think the ratings for XPac segments were like the lowest every week, and that's kind of how that phrase came to be. Like, people were talking about how people tune out when X-Pac comes on TV. I just think it was like maybe a rib against him or something. But yeah, I know a lot of people like X-Pac, so I'm not really sure how that phrase really came to be, but that would be my theory on it. Hey Aaron, do you think Rob Van Dam will eventually return to WWE for one last run, or do you think he'll stay in TNA when he retires? It depends on the schedule. If WWE gave him a really light schedule and the money was right, I could see him at least considering it. But he's made it clear, he told myself and others on NoDQ.com that he had no interest in doing a full-time schedule again. That's just something he doesn't want to do at this point in his life. But I could see him maybe coming back for one more WrestleMania or something like that at the very least. Alright, that about does it for No DQ&A video. Thanks for checking out the show. Leave a comment, youtube.com/NoDQCAW. What's your thoughts on X-Pac? Do you think he deserves the X-Pac heat? Or do you think it's unjust? Let me know what you think, and we'll see you next time.